This next halacha is, I'd like to introduce it with a problem. We discussed this problem last time when we were discussing Bedikas Chametz. I don't know how many of you remember this subject of when are you called you started, when are you in the middle, that we discussed that subject. Person makes a bracha before he does something. When is it too late to make a bracha? What do you have to be up to for it to be too late to make a bracha? So, the discussion, let's just think about a simple thing. A person, not so simple, but we'll think about a simple question. A person forgot to make a bracha on his Hanukkah candles, and they're still burning. Could you make a bracha on them? Why do you say so?
Because you're still getting, it's still like part of the mitzvah.
Which part? What is the halacha? The halacha is hadlaka oisa mitzvah. So what would happen if the candles burnt out immediately after you lit them? You yaitse. So this is the problem with what you're saying. But you're okay anyways. Kerem Kiveger's on your side. And he says, while you're having a kiyum of a hitter mitzvah, it's like the mitzvah is still here. Okay? Now, I davened someplace, matzah, Yantif, Rishon, and the person came over to me and said, do we think that maybe we should start davening a little early to be Mekayim Tamimos? It says you should daven early to be Mekayim Tamimos. Because if you start late, you're not Tamimos because you weren't counting the whole day. Now, this is an issue which is difficult for me to explain. I can only give some shalom on the subject, and we'll take it from there. You have a job, you have to come to work at 9 o'clock in the morning, let's say. And they don't penalize you until if you come later than 9:15. So when do you have to come to work?
9.
Do you agree to that?
Yeah, I think 9, yeah.
So why don't they penalize you till 9:15? Huh? If the guy consistently comes at 9:14, will they penalize him? Probably not. Probably not, because he's maybe abusing a right, but he's within his rights, right? They will not, but you will not get a promotion and you will not get a raise, but we're not going to penalize you. How's that for? I could become a politician, right? Right? That's not penalizing him. Is that penalizing him? Okay, what?
Does that also apply after the times of Kriya Shema? Like we have 2 times, the first time?
There's no 2 times. There's either 1 time only. It depends who you're paskin like.
Right, but according to the earlier basar, the earlier time, the Magen Avraham, you still yoked, say, according to Vilna Gaon. He just said...
Why? Why did he say that?
Because the earlier time, Vilna Gaon doesn't hold, as far as I understand it, you have to wait till the last minute and then say Kriya Shema. He said that's the last time you've got to say it. But the Magen Avraham said works as an earlier calculation. That's my understanding.
I had 2 weeks ago a bris that the father was actually in Poland. The grandfather was in Poland, and he was landing that morning like 11 o'clock. And they asked me what to do. I said you should wait for him to come to be by the bris. I think the grandfather should be by his grandson's bris. So he said to me, it's going to be after Chatzos. You're not going to be Mekayim Zrizim Makdim Lemitzvahs, because the poskim say that after Chatzos it's not Zrizim Makdim, because you're already, you can't say you're being Makdim if you're already over 50% through, right? So I said, that's true, but you are Mekayim Kibbut Avim, right? It's true. And so the person said to me, what are you trying to say? So I said that Zrizim Makdim is preferred, But as long as you made the bris on the 8th day, you're okay. You're not late. You're just not Azoris. So to give up being Azoris in order to mechabed your father or father-in-law, in this case it happened to be, I think that's a fair trade-off. Okay? Now, there's some place that say, if you have two babies to do a bris on, one of them is the 8th day, and the other baby was yellow or had some kind of a disease or whatever the reason was that bris was pushed off, and you have to do both brisin, which one should you do first? So the conventional psak is that it doesn't make any difference. The Afike Yam says you have to do the bris shaloi bismanoi first. Why? Because the bris bismanoi every minute doesn't make any difference. The other one, shaloi bismanoi, every minute is a violation of not having a bris. There's no violation on the 8th day of not having a bris until the 8th day has passed. We don't hold like that. We hold that as long as you did the bris and the day that you had to do it, that's good enough. But we already start to hear the wiggle room over here. How important is it to do early? So the word tamimois means whole. Now, if I'm missing a piece, then it's not whole. How much of your matzah can be broken off and it's still called a shalom? Do you know why I'm asking this question by any chance? If less than 1/48th broke off, that means 1/49th, less, a piece smaller than 1/48th, it's still called a shalom. And this is derived because you have to give to the kohen, and that's the shir of challah that has to be given, and it seems from Chazal that they'll still call the shalom after you gave it to him. So even though it's missing a piece, it's still shalom. Is it shalom? So here comes one of my favorite Hebrew words, ki'ilu, right? Okay, so you guys can say the shir yourself, right? So that's the concept over here. So now, a person is supposed to count Sefira the first night as soon as possible, every night as soon as possible, and part of the reason of that is that it should be tamimois, that the whole day should be counted. If you didn't count it at night, then the whole day is still counted. Why? Because the day was still counted. Mm-hmm. Now, I would like to make something clear. I apologize for becoming mathematical. I don't like when people do this to me because I don't like math. A person sometimes has to have a whole day, but counting can only be done in a certain part. Like a lady has Zayin Nikiyim, so the whole of the day has to be clean, but the counting is only done in the day. The act of counting is only done in the day, but that act of counting is referring to including the entire 24 hours. In other words, there's sometimes a place where the counting is done, but that counting is directed at including more than the time when the counting is taking place, right? Okay. So now, shakach v'loy birach kol halayla. Sefiras omer is supposed to be done at night. In fact, it was done at the beginning of the night. Let's say you didn't count at night. Yisper bayoim b'loy bracha. You count in the day without a bracha. Why do you count in the day without a bracha? Because there are those that say that the counting can only be at night. That's called you missed it, even though the next day doesn't start until another 12 hours, but you still missed it because it's too late. All right, so let's see the Mishnah Berurah. Yisro bayom, kedas harbe poiskin, debidievet Sefiras yom oila l'sefira. You can still count. One can still count in the daytime. Below brocha, why? The Hilchos l'das hapoiskim de'ein zman sefira ela balayla. So this word that it says over here, that three-letter word, is very important. De'ein zman sefira. There's a time when it's supposed to be counted. What are you counting? You're counting a whole 24-hour period, but you only have one piece of the day that is appropriate for the counting to happen in that time. According to the opinion that you have to count at night, if you count in the day, you already missed the opportunity, even though the day is still here. This is what the complicated part about it. You're allowed to continue counting with the bracha. So here, this is where fancy footwork is coming in. I believe that many people think that halacha is a joke. The rabbis just do whatever they want because they change and fashion the halacha to the circumstance which is in front of them, and people who do not have a good understanding don't understand that other factors come into play and change the procedure that's necessary. That's inconsistency. The classic case, which I can't think of a better case than this, is you could have two people waiting online with a shayla and a chicken. To one, the Rav will say kosher, and to the next one will say treif. And the reason why is because for hefsid meruba, the halacha is that it's kosher. The first person was an ani, and it was hefsid meruba, and the second person was an usher, and it's not hefsid meruba. And not only that, if I'm not mistaken, Rabbi Kideger says that the usher, get this, has to kosher his kalim. It's treif for real. It's treif for real, and for the ani, it's kosher for real.
Right.
So, do we fire the rabbi or not? Of course we fire the rabbi, because who pays the salary? The rich people, right? That ones he says straight, right? Right, but actually, so what is the halacha? So I just can introduce you to what the Ramah in the Akdamat to Teres Chata says about this subject, which is a fascinating thing. He says something which many people would desist from accepting. We are obligated to live above the line of scrimmage. Halacha demands of us that we don't do what I call bidi eved. It has to be kosher l'chatchila. And the Ramah says that when I say it's kosher b'hefsim meruba or tzarech Shabbos or whatever the particular reason is because that's what the ikar hadin is. But under regular circumstances, we're not allowed to do the ikar hadin. We're mechuyev to do more than the ikar hadin. Now, if that twists your brain a little bit, I'll just make a comparison to a Ma'amar Chazal that one of my sons was very bothered by it for a long time. It says the reason why the Beis Hamikdash was destroyed was because Hamidu Divreim al Din Torah. They did what the halacha says. Isn't that a good reason to destroy the Beis Hamikdash? So what's the answer to the question? The answer to the question is very simple. This mashal is my mashal. It's only a mashal. This never happened. I made it up in my sinister mind. Okay? I'm sitting as a dayan in Bezdin, and a couple come in, and the wife says she wants a get. And her husband is livid. And I asked the wife, why do you want a get? She says, my husband doesn't care about me. He doesn't give me my basic needs. He doesn't give me food to eat. and the husband is a liar, ungrateful woman. I give you more than you need, and you slander me like that. No, this is like, so I say to the woman, what, does he give you anything? He says, yeah. And she describes the meager meal that he gives her. And I turn to the husband and I say to him, why is that what you give your wife? So he said, well, I took my wife to the doctor and I had her BMI done, and it said that she needs 2,476 calories a day. And I decided that I'm a good husband. I give her 3,000 calories a day, and she's ungrateful. So who's right? This story didn't happen, but who's right? What?
Both of them.
Both of them? No. In my opinion, only the wife is right. Because marriage is not a contract, it's a relationship. So if you follow everything in the contract, then you missed out on the purpose of marriage. Now, what we should do with them or not, we'll leave that to a different shir. But the point over here is that you could do everything that you're supposed to do, and you're doing the wrong thing. So lichatchila, the halach Shulchan Aruch tells us you have to do more. It's a chiyuv. What about if you're in a situation of pekuach nefesh? So the guy's very generous with his wife. He's in the concentration camp and he gave his wife that to eat. He's a saint, right? So you have to know what the situation that we're talking about is in order to know what the halacha is. So this is what the Ramah says. We're obligated to do more than the halacha. Okay, but now we have b'diavad situations. B'diavad situations, the halacha changes in many, many areas. This is common. So,
but according to those who say that counting during the day is not accounting, so then according to the Taka, you missed it already?
You missed it. It's all over.
It's all over.
It's all over. So now we have a concept of stacking things together. I'm going to use an example in Hilchos Shabbos, and perhaps it's understandable from there the easiest way. There are 7 conditions that must be met in order for something to be an Isser D'Oraisa of a Malacha on Shabbos. I'll just name a few of them. It has to be Malacha Tzricha L'Gufa, you have to be Mechaven, and you have to do the Shir, it has to be B'lkei Alma. There's a whole bunch of things you got to check off, criteria. Okay, that have to be done. Now, let's say you're missing one of them. It's also Mirabbanan. Let's say you're missing 2 of them. It's still also Mirabbanan. What about if you're missing 3 of them? So certain ones of those 3, we'll call them the 3 biggies. We'll just leave it like that. If you're missing them, so it's so far away from a malacha that it becomes mutter. There's no rabbinic injunction on it because it's too far away. It doesn't look like a malacha at all. And I'll use the example that the Noda B'Yehuda uses, which I think is quite clear. A person eats a cookie that has something written on the cookie. Would anybody say that he's a moichik? What's he doing? Eating. We don't see moichik over here. Okay? Now there's a halachic list that goes on to explain why this is called that it's mutter. The Ramah disagrees, but this Noda B'Yehuda says that it's already so far away that it's already mutter. So a person has a suffix, so you have to be machmar on a suffix. You'll have, and I'll just give an example. When I just got married, I must have married maybe a month or so, I had a shayla in basar bechalav, and I called the local rabbi, and the local rabbi said he doesn't know. So the next time when I made a long distance phone call to call my father, Oliver Shalom, so I asked him the question. So he said, what did he do? I said, I called the local rabbi, and he said he doesn't know. So I said to my father, so what's the halachas? I said, my father says, do you understand? The Rav said he doesn't know, and you want to know what I have to say? Don't you understand you should be machmer? This is a father talking to son. This is not, it's not a, right? In other words, what kind of house are you trying to create? Right? That would be somebody else would ask the question, he would have answered him. That was mutter. Okay, so here we have this kind of an idea. So you have a suffix. Suffix you have to be machmer. That's I have a mitzvah kibbut avim. You have a suffix you have to be machmer. What about if I have a suffix? If I have a suffix, sveik sveika. So what? Why is sveik sveika mutter? OCD? Why is sveik sveika mutter? What do you say? Rav Tzaddim? Okay, there's some that say that. And others say that it's not a big enough suffix. It downsizes. Not all sveikis are equal. So you can have sometimes a sveik sveika, and a sveik sveika will put you in a different position. So, when it comes to Sefiras OMER, we're not sure if you count in the day if it's called counting or not. We're also not sure if you miss the day, if you can continue counting. So we have over here two reasons to say, now 1 second, and this is entrapment. Two reasons to say that you can't count with a brocho, or two reasons to say that you can count with a brocho. You understand the question? What do you say? I can't hear a word you're saying. I didn't hear you. I just didn't hear you.
I would say you can count.
Why are you saying that?
Well, there's also an additional suffix. Whether the mitzvah is to count the whole, is whether it's considered one counting, or each day is a separate counting.
Right.
So that would be another side for, I'd add that to the two suffix that whoever's raised, then I'd say definitely a person could continue counting in that situation.
Why could he continue counting? I'm not arguing with you. Just what's the formula that tells us that we can continue counting?
Because there are too many suffix that hold a person back from continuing the count. It would cause us to say that you cannot continue. Okay, fine. So that's exactly what's going on over here. Now let's see the next halacha, and then we're going to go back, because these two halachas go together. If a person forgot to count the whole day, ben yom rishon, ben b'shar yomim, sofer b'shar yomim, beloy brocha. You continue to count without a brocha. Now, if you be a pessimist, you say, I'm out of the race, so why bother? So the answer is, it's a suffix if he's out of the race. Right? Avrohom Baruch dealing yom echad, beloy sofar, yispa b'shar yomim b'brocha. Why is that so?
So this is fake if he's out of the race.
Same thing. Correct. Now, by the way, I just would like to make a statement over here, which has to do with sveikis that people have in davening all the time. I was makabel for my Rashiva, and this seems to be the custom in Bris. Fascinating idea. Someone calls me up at 11 o'clock in the morning and says, I'm not sure if I said Yalav Yov and Shacharis. So I said, are you sure you said the rest of Shacharis? Right? So why are you not sure that you said Yalav Yov and Shacharis? And what time did you daven? Why are you asking me this question now? This is what I'll ask you. Now, it's not because I'm a nosy guy that I'm asking this question. A person Did you eat supper 3 days ago? I probably ate supper 3 days ago. Perhaps, if I really try hard, I could probably even, perhaps, remember what I ate. Do I have a suffix if I ate supper 3 days ago? I don't remember. What does that mean?
It's not something you pay attention to.
So if it would be tonight, if you asked me, did you eat supper tonight? And I say, I don't remember.
Yeah, so
I understand. You just said eating supper is not something you pay attention to.
it's close
That-
enough.
Oh, it's close enough. That what?
That the question.
That not knowing is a suffix. 3 days ago, the fact that you don't know what you ate for supper, if you ate supper, does not create a suffix. We'll assume you ate supper like you always do. Well, you know, what did you eat? Whatever you normally eat. I don't know what you ate. But that doesn't create a suffix. 11 o'clock in the morning, it's not a suffix. You don't have a right to create a suffix if you said Yalav Yavel. That person can say, "Oh, I forgot that it was Rosh Chodesh, so I don't, you know, that's not called you have a suffix. You know you didn't say Yalav Yavel. That's a different question." Okay, this is very difficult for some people that are very OCD to get this straight. But not all Sefiras are Sefiras. So a person says, "I'm not sure if I counted Sefiras OMER." Somebody tells me, I'm just telling you right now, any man who tells me that he has a suffix and he counted Sefiras OMER, I say you didn't count. Not like Shulchan Aruch. Okay? And I'm going to explain why I say that. Most men, 90% of the men that I have to deal with at least, daven ma'ariv with a minyan. Right? Everybody, we hear daven's ma'ariv with a minyan. Do you remember to count Sefira? You never remember to count Sefira. It's done for you. In other words, you don't have a watch that rings at 11 o'clock at night. You know, did he count Sefira? So if you would be in a situation that you didn't if you daven with a minyan, and you say you had a suffix if you counted Sefira, I'd say, of course you counted Sefira. Out of the 10 people there, somebody for sure remembered. No, I don't accept. We don't count Sefira on Purim, so I guess everybody's sober, right? No, that's not a reasonable suffix. And if you didn't daven with a minyan, why should you think you counted Sefira? So if the person will tell me that no, he knows why he thinks, and he remembered when he was preparing for his for the daven that he had in mind to but normally the guy who doesn't remember, I have no reason to have a suffix. So even though this is not what it says in Shulchan Aruch, I don't think I'm saying not like Shulchan Aruch. I just think that the average person doesn't remember by himself. I always marvel at women that they remember to say Moed Atal and saying Talamoter to switch all by themselves. I don't know if I would be able to do that, right? But that's so. In other words, I'm not arguing with what it says in Shulchan Aruch Chalila. I'm just saying that the person who is intellectually honest, does he really have a suffix? That's the question that I have.
Is a man allowed to put himself into a suffix about the counting or the brocha? I'm thinking of a particular situation in mind where perhaps it could be considered hefsek merubah. Like, for example, it might happen to other men that in this period of Sefiras they'd rather not daven in an early Shabbos minyan, but their wife insists that they do so, so it puts you in a suffix. Do you count the Omer with a blocker before the time, or do you just say the Omer and rely on yourself remembering afterwards. You know, that's kind of a situation the person might feel compelled to put himself into.
I have no understanding what that has to do with suffix. I call it a b'diavad situation.
Right, but it's a suffix.
What's the suffix?
The suffix is you can, whether you're going to remember to count later, if you don't count with the min, if you don't count and the min count the omer.
That's not a suffix.
No.
That's jeopardy. Are you going to go to sleep tonight?
Hopefully.
Is it a suffix?
Depends on the situation in the house.
No, I'm telling you, I don't know anything about your house. You're going to sleep tonight. But that's not called a suffix. A person has an obligation always to make sure that he's mekayim his obligations. Period. All mitzvahs that you have to make sure that you're mekayim them.
In this case, it's the obligation to the wife, or the obligation to the...
One must learn to multitask. Take care of your obligations to your wife and take care of your obligations to Hashem. Most people have this device called a cell phone. It has this great thing in it called a calendar, and you can put in a reminder, and it will remind you every single night at 11 o'clock. And anybody who doesn't always daven with a minyan, in my opinion, is a pesher if he doesn't do that.
It won't work on Shabbat.
You talk about because of Friday night? You could have the alarm clock go off on Friday night too. You could do that. There are some shuls that actually have a custom in the morning that they count Sefiras after davening for those people who forgot. But a person has to figure out how to mekayim all of his mitzvahs. Just because he's a wife, he's not called the onos. Okay, let's see the Mishnah Berurah now. Shagach levarech. No, it's the words of Shulchan Aruch are a little bit confusing. If I were the one writing Shulchan Aruch, I would have wrote something else. If I had written Shachach Lispor. The word Shachach levarech bothered Mishnah Berurah because that's not the idea that we're trying to convey over here. Shachach levarech be'echad me'ayamim ben yom rishon v'shayor. Okay. Says the Mishnah Berurah, when it says Shagach levarech, we don't mean that he has a subject about the brocho, but he knows that he counted. It means Shaloi Siper, V'loi Niska ad Sefiras Shacharel. And he didn't remember until the next day. V'adin and Noidu Loi She'es Molto B'minyan, V'sofer Sefiras Acheres, Dino K'mo Shaloi Siper Klal. Now, it doesn't make a difference whether you forgot to count, or you counted the wrong day. Both of them are equally no good. All right. Sefer b'shar yomim. Why? Kedas harbe pois contain Sefiras hayomim ma'akrin zeh v'chol yuma v'yuma mitzvah b'fnei atzmei. I was asked a question. I'm probably going to learn the halacha, but right now it comes to mind. I was asked a question by a lady sometime on Chalamoid, that she said to me, I normally count Sefiras, and I know that there are those opinions that say women shouldn't count because they're probably going to forget. I'm scheduled to have a baby sometime during Sefiras. Should I count with the bracha? Shimon, what do you say?
If that's the question, that's... So I would say not to count in that case.
Why not?
With the bracha, not to count with the bracha.
Why not?
Count out to bracha, because without a bracha, you still get in the mitzvah.
No, but why should you count without a bracha?
Because there's a good chance that perhaps she'll give, if she's going to give birth in this period, maybe she'll give birth.
So in other words, I am guilty of entrapment. If you know your wife is going to make you have early Shabbos, so from the first day you shouldn't count with the bracha.
That's what I wanted to say.
We're trying to be intellectually honest.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, if you know
I
that,
say the opposite because
You know your wife is going to make early Shabbos. We already did this last year.
Yeah.
Right? All right. In my opinion, you should come with the bracha. I asked her, does she... what? Should. I asked her, should, yes. I asked her, do you usually count Sefira? She says, yeah, for the last 20 years or something like that. I said, how many times have you missed? She said 3 or 4 times. She's better than a lot of men. If you take into account what I said before about men, she's for sure better than many men. So she counts, excuse the pun, she counts religiously, right? She's called a reliable person. All right. Anyways, so the halacha is that we can never on that the days are not makiv zeh. Each day is its own mitzvah. B'loi brocho, halacha shemadim, sheva shabbos tamimus. You need to have full, complete weeks in order for it to be considered accounted. You're missing a day. V'nacham v'zeh sheyishma brocha min hashliach tzibor o menecha min mevorchim v'yana omen bekavod lotzes v'achakach yispor. Now, I'd just like to say something, and I'm making a very strong statement, and then I will argue with my statement. I do not believe that you can rely on the Shliach Tzibur. The Shliach Tzibur knows nothing. When he makes the bracha, he doesn't have a mind to be might see anyone, unless you know otherwise. Similarly, according to some poskim, now we say Shameh Ka'ina by Kedusha. I don't believe the average Shliach Tzibur has in mind that he's being yotze with Shemei Ka'ina, those people that are unfortunate enough to still be in the middle of Shemona Esrei. Just don't believe it. That should be the halacha, and that's where I should end off, and I should say that don't be saimech on the Shliach Tzibur. Perhaps today we can be saimech on the Shliach Tzibur because he's here now and he'll know to have you in mind. But Be'etzem, this should be true what I'm telling you. However, there's a bir halacha, and I'll just end off with this fascinating bir halacha. I was in Lakewood the last 2 or 3 years of my father Osham's life, and the minhag in my family is that I always made kiddush, even though other people making kiddush. But this Shabbos there were many people, and I decided I'll be yotze with my father. I didn't tell my father. I said, my father has a mind to be might see everyone, so I'll just jump onto the bandwagon. And he finishes kiddush and he pours out, So I take some and he said, I said, you can't take any of that. So I said, why not? He said, I didn't have you in mind. So I said, you mean you didn't have to have in mind whoever wants to be yotze? He says, no, I had each person in mind. It's not like a different generation, and you were not in my mind because you make kiddush yourself. So, just to make life exciting, I said it doesn't matter. I'm yotze anyways. So he looks at me and he says, "Why is that so?" So I said, the Mishnah Berurah in Hilchos Shabbos says that on a mitzvah d'Rabbanan, if we that we say mitzvahs and tzrichas kavana, but if Yeshemeh Ka'ina works, and you don't have to have a mind. So the thing that I already heard Kiddush according to many opinions, because I heard it already in Shul, it's only the Rabbanon, and even if you didn't have a mind to be might see me, I'm yotze anyways. So my father said to me very dryly, he said, is that what you're really going to do? I said, no. I'm going to have my brother-in-law who's making Kiddush be might see me. But this is a question that even though the Shliach Tzibur doesn't have you in mind, it could be that if you could be yotze with Shemei Ka'ina anyways. No, this is Friday night. Fascinating. If you remind me next week, we'll start. I'll show you that Mishnah Berurah. It's a fascinating Mishnah Berurah. Okay.